Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Seer 365 session. I'm Rufus Lunn, head of the ISV program at Seer 365. As always, with the Seer 365 sessions, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to put them in the comments box below, and we'll be able to see and respond to them as we go. If you're watching on demand, please do feel free to add a comment. And again, we'll get a notification and someone will be in touch to help. But today's session is of particular interest. We are here with Martin Smith from Dynalogic talking about discrete manufacturing. Technology investment into discrete manufacturing, especially in the UK, is massively on the rise, as C-suites all over are starting to grapple with software meeting the nuts and bolts of manufacturing processes. Martin, I will hand over to you at this point and take it away.
Thank you so much, Rufus, and thank you all for participating now or on a later stage. And like Rufus said, always very willing to answer any questions. So we're just freshly back from beautiful directions in Poznan. And as you can see, we are a active user ourselves of the Seer platform, using both the Guide 365 from our SI business as discovery for our ISV business. And well, as I said, just been back from a busy week at beautiful Poznan, which was really good, except maybe for the picture, because I always close my eyes at the wrong times, right? So just to make sure sometimes I open them, this is me, I'm Martin, I'm a partner development manager at 9 Altitudes Dynalogic. I will get into that to explain that a little bit. My whole life, I was looking forward to work together with people. That is what I like to do. And I'm refilling one of my hobbies, riding bike together. That is something else I like to do. Please reach out to my email address or phone. 9A, 9 Altitudes, Dynalogic, just to give you that story a little bit. Dynalogic is a company, an ISV company with a strong focus on manufacturing, discrete manufacturing in particular. And I would say if you look at the bottom here, you see these 3 E's. I always love to do like 5 P's, 3 E's, right? And one of them is experience. And that is where I want to make the bridge to 9 Altitudes. Because Dynalogic, as an ISV company, grew from 9 Altitudes being a system integrator with a very long experience in manufacturing. And actually, that is how we work. We do real projects with real manufacturing companies. And based on that, we have built IP. And we want to share that with the community. And therefore, we have this brand, Dynalogic, which is a company of its own, but still using all the things we learn from practical experience. The second E would be end-to-end. We are not a company that throws in single ISV solutions. We'd like to help our partners with bringing them an end-to-end solution for manufacturing. Sometimes they are super vertical, sometimes they are more horizontal, but still adapted and tweaked to the manufacturing. And it's about the essence, and the essence is actually focusing on what really makes a difference in manufacturing. There's a lot of things going on, and Rufus, what you just said about the momentum in manufacturing, which is really there, is there, yeah, and the companies need good tools and good solutions to help them. So that is what we do, focusing on manufacturers. Don't mind, I hope you don't mind the birds team we use in there, but that is what we are. And basically, if we look at discrete manufacturing, there are big challenges ahead for them. Big challenges, but also big opportunities, because I would also like to look at it from the positive side and the optimistic side. Because, for example, if you look at sustainability, which is a big theme in manufacturing, there might be companies who see that as a mandatory compliance or regulation thing, where other companies might embrace a green manufacturing strategy to, well, let's make sure they are a future partner for other companies, right? One of the challenges also in manufacturing, obviously, there's a big battle for skilled technicians and labor. On the other hand, we also have to deal with a workforce that's, well, in some cases, needs some renewal, and there's still at this very moment a skills gap between some of the tools we can offer to them and what the people know, right? So there is another challenge. One of the other big things which can really hit manufacturers very hard is disruptions in supply chain. So if anything happens, that could be from a geopolitical effect of anything, or a ship in a canal, which is very important for supply chain. Anything that could hit manufacturers in delivering and delay in the delivery times, they should have processes in place and tools in place to make sure they keep their promises with their customers. At the same time, we also see a shift, particularly I would say in Europe, where mass production might have left some of our countries. We see a lot of focus on customization, so mass customization, where customers might not want something that is engineered specifically for them, although that is also a very common scenario, but they want a configure to order or assemble to order solution. And last but not least, whatever we are doing from a, let's say, new software, AI, whatever, we have to face reality that still a lot of manufacturers have legacy system and suffer from big integration challenges. So to put it together, there are concrete challenges in discrete manufacturing that we try to solve with our services and solutions. I already addressed the word essence because it is very important for us to make the market and our partners understand what we do and what we do not do, right? That is important. So if you look at this drawing, you would see on the left side the more fixed requirements. On the right side, you will see unique requirements. And on the vertical, you will see low volume and high volume. And we are especially good, and I would say more to the middle and to the right, where you have like scenarios, configure to order, build to order, engineer to order. Why? Because, for example, in engineer to order, you are not configuring or taking something from stock. You're really making something on the specifications of a customer. And very often that is designed in another program. That could be AutoCAD, or they could be any other product lifecycle management solution, or doesn't really matter which one it is. So therefore, it is important to also be ready for that scenario. Configure to order is a scenario where you as a customer can really still have impact on how it looks, right? So if we take the example for a bike, I would like that type of bike, but I would like that color. I would like to have that shift group or gears and so on. So that is more the configure to order. So that is where we are focusing on, and discrete manufacturing. And I think most people will know difference between process and discrete manufacturing. If I simplify it, discrete are things you can count. You can have two next to each other, you will see the difference. If you have process manufacturing, it's a fluid or it's gas or it's bulk. It is difficult to make the distinction between bulk one and bulk two, right? So we are into the discrete manufacturing. So if your partners out there have customers in that area, discrete manufacturing, you might want to talk to us. On the far right, I would say bottom right, you see one very specific one, attribute-based. I must define that a little bit. We have a big group of customers that do produce specific things that need to be cut in a horizontal way. Think about carpet, think about wood, think about foil, think about metal sheets. BC doesn't cater for that very well standards, and we have made solutions for the whole cutting process for that. Very specific one. Well, including the new logo, we just got back from Potsdam, but I thought let's put it in. The thing I want to walk through with you is our Business Central focus for the solutions, and basically we have a suite of solutions around Business Central. One of the core elements, and that would be our advanced manufacturing solutions. The other one is a shop floor solution called Bird's Job Manager. We have a Bird's BI solution and a Bird's Document Warehouse. I think most of them are also available through Discovery. So that is good to know. Let's zoom in on the first one, advanced manufacturing. Well, I'm not going to read from the slide, but that doesn't really help us. But it is important to understand that in advanced manufacturing, it is super important to make sure you understand the real costs and that the costs are allocated to the right project at the right time. It is as important if you are in a configure to order scenario, for example, that doing those configurations are made easy for you. Changes in those configurations are easy. And we have built specific solutions to help doing that. Again, it's not my goal to go through every solution now in detail, but hopefully trigger you to have that conversations with us. So summarizing what we have in our advanced manufacturing for BC, we have an item configurator, which is super valuable to shorten the sales cycle because your salespeople will have a very effective tool by creating those configurations and the quotations attached to it. For project-based manufacturing, we have a possibility that helps you in the whole budgeting, planning, and the execution across complex projects, even projects that are not related to each other, but where, let's say, machines or people need to work together. We can even tie them together to have a better cost control and make sure the project is on budget and on time. We also include a quality management solution, which is important. I would say that quality management solution can be used in any step in the process. That could be starting with a purchase, checking the incoming goods, checking the quality during production, but also obviously before shipping anything to a customer. And like mentioned in the scenario we just discussed, in the engineer to order, we have built this CAD PLM link. Well, you see it now as a thing on the street, right? But just try to understand that if you design something, if you engineer something, which is like 800 components, right? You do not want to do manual exercise getting those components into BC. You want that to be transferred automatically. And if there are changes, and I can predict there are, because that is what's happening in real life, then you want to make sure that it can flow back from your ERP and back to your master data and so on. So that is, I think, if you are an engineer to order, you will probably understand the value of that. And product dimensions, I think I've shared that. It's very important for, let's say, companies that include cutting of the products. And for example, one of our biggest customers creates grass, artificial grass that is. They need to cut that from a master roll, and from that master roll, they get a new stock item, which is the cut of that master roll. Again, once you have a customer like this, you will be confronted with that scenario. You will see the value of that. I can say a lot about it, but it's more important that our customers say things about it. Well, for example, Nicodan is a company that does palletizing systems for different sectors. And basically here you have it. We try to combine different solutions. We're not only including our own ISV solutions, we love to work with the companies like Continia, TaskLab, for example. But here you see that this company, for example, uses BC, our add-on apps, but also, for example, in this scenario, Dynamics 365 Sales. So that makes a full end-to-end story for them. While I was going to Nicodan, you also saw there maybe in the bottom the Bird Job Manager. Well, that is a solution. I know there are a lot of time registration solutions out there in the different countries. I know that very well. But I think Job Manager, it is built natively into BC. It doesn't require BC licenses. It is a very lightweight, I would say lightweight from a license need perspective, but it does everything you would like it to do. You can track your time, you can register it on a production order or on a project, even on an internal production order. It has the integration with the salary system, which takes out a lot of work of the guy or girl who has to do that normally, because that's quite a huge task. It will include any kind of collective agreements, make calculations automatically, and so forth. It even comes with its own kind of quality system into it. Obviously, it works in a production environment, in a manufacturing setting, but it also works for our more service-oriented customers. Why is that important? We have manufacturers that do not only produce something, sometimes they also bring the maintenance contracts and the service contracts on that asset. We are talking million euros assets in some circumstances, right? So, and then it's important that everything is registered in the right way, also mobile, and from, I would say, time to items that they are consumed in the service.
So these can be used by people out on the road as and when they're doing maintenance.
Absolutely, absolutely. Service, preventive services, preventive maintenance, or corrective, whatever is needed, right? So yes, time recording, job registration, payroll processing. Again, like I said before, very flexible. Could be like a terminal that you have centrally in the factory on the shop floor, or through a mobile device. And like I said, there is some very flexible way of doing some quality checks on shop floor level. I think it is really included and integrated in BC, which makes it very powerful. There's no, let's say, integration needed. It's there. And actually, it has been there for more than 20 years. And I think the best, let's say, proof that it is a well-accepted solution is that 22,000 daily users use Job Manager to register their time. And I would say it is found in Denmark, in our Danish offices, and it is there the default time registration tool for more than 200 Danish BC companies. Okay. And well, Rufus, we were talking about doing it in the field, right, as a service, and pure coincidentally, I have this company, Schroeder, a beautiful company that does indeed go out with those vans. They have their warehouses in the vans, and they register time and item consumption over there. So instant synchronization directly in the system. They don't miss out the hours anymore. They can invoice from it directly. I think that is a bonus for that type of company. Okay, talking about vertical solutions until now, we also have some horizontal solutions, and one of them is Birds BI. And again, if we talk horizontal, it does not mean it does not have the connection with manufacturing. When we create these type of solutions, we still keep in mind that it must serve the manufacturing companies. So although it is used in other sectors as well, we've made sure that it has manufacturing content and manufacturing insights. Birds BI basically is a solution that allows you to tap into the potential of, I would say, any Dynamics 365 or other data source. And what we have basically done is took out the heavy lifting of the hard work between, let's say, Dynamics 365 sources or other sources and Power BI. And I think the best is to show it is that well, this is a little bit more on features, benefits, and values, but it is a quick start BI for Dynamics. We have pre-built dashboards and content packs. And basically, it combines Dynamics data from different systems. That is very important. If you would have like one company and you would have limited reporting needs, probably you will be okay with standard BC reporting, right? Especially since last year on Directions, I think a lot of standard reports has been provided. But especially if you have like companies that have more data sources, different countries, different entities, the more complicated it gets, I would say the more comfortable we feel with it. And obviously now built on Microsoft Fabric, which is important because we're also building in much more AI into that solution, being able to query the data through natural language, for example. And I think this picture more or less says it, right? You have this data layer, which can look super complicated on the left. And what we have actually built is a kind of what we would call a semantic layer between the presentation layer and the data. Again, we will not have the time to run into the detail of all of this, but I was in a meeting just yesterday talking with somebody who tried to create something in Power BI directly on BC, and it was slow, it was not performing well, it was difficult to understand. So we explained it how we would approach it, and they were super happy with that. So maybe there's something in there, right? Okay, yeah, one of the companies, for example, Remondis, a company that had the talents of having very much, I would say, different entities, different data source, different systems, and they really needed to get all that data together and make sure they could do a good reporting and have good insights on that. And that's exactly where we help them with. And last but not least, in, let's say, the portfolio, we have Bird's Document Warehouse. I think, again, this is like a solution. If you just look at the word document warehouse, document management, you would say, okay, a lot of tools out there, right? So why care about this one? Well, our customers, and I dare to say that in 80% of the projects we do, we bring this really is a little bit different. It really takes all those documents, make those documents available in any process. I would say in any step of the process. If I would be in service, for example, and use the service solution, Dynamics 365 customer service or field services, I still can go back to, I would say, a order confirmation that was created in the ERP. Although I'm not a user of BC myself, I would still have access to those documents. Actually, they would be presented to me because we will tag those documents, we will make them available, and depending on the process where you're in. It is also a compliance solution because the document that is created will be archived in a legal compliant way. The content will not change. It will be stamped with a time mark on that particular date with that time, that is the original document that was shared, which is super important and different than maybe how SharePoint will do that. Are we competing with SharePoint? No, we're working alongside SharePoint because some of those documents can be stored in a blob storage, Azure storage, or could be on SharePoint, right? So that is important to know. And again, it is across business systems like PLM, ERP, and CRM. Central Document Warehouse, we tag automatically metadata to different documents, make them visible in, I would say, literally any place where you are in the tool you're using at that moment. And it has a very, I would say, interesting way of doing security and access to specific documents, very metadata driven access control, which makes it very flexible to define who can see what, who can change what, and so on. Again, a picture sometimes says more than words, right? Here we are looking, and I'm happy they took the bike and configure to order, I would say. By the way, Document Warehouse also caters for having 3D CAD models into this solution. That is also interesting. This is a 2D drawing, but doesn't really matter. So here we are looking at those documents from different programs, different solutions. That could be, in this case, it's an F&O or FNSCM. It's a Dynamics 365 Sales View. It is Bird Document Warehouse standalone. But for example, even on the right bottom, you would see that even having access to those documents through Teams, right? So that makes it very easy. Obviously, we are not a document creation solution. We work with standard solutions that are in the market, and one of our, I would say, partners we work with is a company, Docs42. And well, we extended a little bit on what they have built from document creation. We can take that into Bird's Document Warehouse and do our things with it. So looking at the time, I'm going to go towards a finish. What we want to bring is not single solutions. We want to bring a end-to-end scenario for manufacturing companies in the different processes that are there. That is what we do. And last week in Boston, for example, we showed this engineer-to-order project-based manufacturing. Again, we don't have the time to do that now, but we basically showed there how those different steps would look and where we then plug in actually our solutions. In this particular, it was a lawnmower that was configured, right? But it was just an example to show that we really, on this path, use all those solutions to have that end-to-end scenario. So a question obviously that could pop up. Well, it looks nice, right? What if the flow isn't working, right? Because we're talking about, for example, an engineer to order project flow with ideal, everything goes perfect, right? And no problems. The truth is that very often that does not happen, right? Something goes wrong in the project. That is something we know from experience. And then it is important to understand that we have built solutions that also help you to mitigate those risks or to solve those problems. And one of the more interesting things, and I would really like, well, people that are interested would like to invite them to take a close look at this. One of the sessions we did at Directions was a session on AI-driven item configuration. And that was a interesting thing. We were part of this Microsoft Red Carpet program where we had a preview on the agentic capabilities in there. And basically, it brings down hours of work in redoing item configuration into literally minutes. The picture is of Christopher Kjær Jensen, our Danish product owner for this. If you were not there, available to request, he likes to talk about it, because we see that this is something that can really make a difference. This is where AI meets reality in manufacturing, right? So, and we're doing it. So that is important. So manufacturing BC, and Rufus, I'm happy you started. We didn't reverse on that. You didn't tell me what you were going to say, but I asked Copilot, what about BC and manufacturing? Does it make sense, right, to go in that direction? If you're not there yet, that is something from your company perspective, of course, a strategic decision. But I can assure you that manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, and Business Central, that combination is a high growth segment. We see companies moving from more traditional SAP, NetSuite, whatever ERPs into the Dynamics world. And again, we might have lost a part of our manufacturing capabilities in Europe or companies, but there's a new market, and that are those very high value expert companies that create beautiful things. And well, it's up to us together with our partners to make sure they stay very competitive, and that is what we want to do with them. So partners using our solutions look a little bit like this. Partners not using our solutions a little bit like that, right? So just kidding. But, well, we would love to work together with partners, and again, we are here to work with partners that have a real focus on specific sector and want to work into that. That's brought me a little bit to the end of my story here, participants and Rufus.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Martin, and a really, really nice overview or flyby of some of the Dynalogic solutions. So I think just to really emphasize, these are all tried and tested solutions. They are in use by many different organizations, especially in Denmark, but across all of Europe and the UK. And you are doing some very, very exciting things with Microsoft as well. So absolutely, I think a lot of Microsoft Business Central partners are concerned about working with big manufacturing requirements. I think there's this perception, perhaps, that sometimes it's seen as a finance and supply chain management requirement. But actually, with tools like yours, this is a high growth market, and it's something that partners should really be looking at.
No, absolutely, and I know. Yeah, we know from experience that very often manufacturing companies think about finance and supply chain or F&O, but we have to admit that BC took a big step right into the SMB market, and there are still a lot of manufacturers that are actually specifically in that segment that BC is aiming for. And well, by adding, I would say, specialized solutions like are the ones I just showed, we can make sure that we build the bridge between the needs of the manufacturers and what is out of the box. So they should give it a try, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you liked the overview today, please do get in touch with Martin or Dynalogic. So Martin's email is up on screen at the moment. But Martin, all that remains is to say thank you. Fantastic overview, and looking forward to our work together.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Cheers, Martin. Bye.
Cheers.